Hey everybody, welcome to another round of What's on Your Pedalboard. I'm Don Carr, and this is Ryan Burke. Da, 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 da.
Hey everyone.
Hey, Ryan, as you know, is of 60 Cycle Hum fame and Affordboard. And today we're going to find out what's on your pedalboard.
Well, this is not my Affordboard. I'll say
Clearly.
that. There's a couple things on here that are not expensive. They're not what I would consider expensive pedals, but there are quite a few expensive pedals as well.
Well, you know what though? I mean, okay, so the whole what's on your pedalboard thing is like, it's about you.
Right.
It's your thing that works for you, that makes sense for you when you're out using it, doing the things that you do.
You know, it was interesting for me to kind of put this together and finalize it and clean it up because it was a real mess before I left. Like thinking about it, like this is the distillation of everything that I like. Like I'm a demo channel.
Yeah.
I'm constantly covering pedals.
Sure.
But this is what I actually use, and that's actually pretty important information. I think people will really like knowing what I actually use when I go and I gig and I'm playing for myself and stuff like that.
And it to some extent it tempers and informs what you're saying, which gives everyone a little more context. Totally makes sense.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, this is I'm excited. I'm very excited.
Yeah, this is going to be fun.
Yeah.
We've already been having a ton of fun.
I know.
Off-camera things that should never be published, talking about all sorts of stuff.
I don't
the
know.
opinions this guy has, controversial.
Yeah, me, the king of controversy. Right? Yeah, that's me. That's me. Oh man. Okay, so anyway, getting underway here. So we're you requested a single coil guitar with a wiggle stick, of course.
Of course.
Man, thanks for playing that. That's a Sweetwater exclusive, very cool guitar.
Very cool. Every time I pick up a G&L, I'm like, why don't I own a G&L? They're super, super cool.
Yeah.
I love the split pickups. They're super fun. The bridge on this, like I've only played it like a minute or two, getting everything set up, but it's nice and floaty. Like I'm getting wacky with it now, but it feels really smooth, almost like a Jazzmaster in a way. Like it's got that Strat range, but it feels smooth. Like really nice hardware on these things.
Yeah, yeah. And the neck's great on it too.
Yeah, super great neck. Is this like that's roasted maple or baked maple or something?
Yeah,
or
roasted.
Sous vide maple, maybe? They cooked it. It's cooked.
Takes a lot longer to sous vide, but it's so worth it.
It's worth it, yeah. It's more tender. Yeah, this thing's fun. I'm excited to be playing this. This is in my wheelhouse for sure.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Okay, so but more importantly, what's on your pedalboard? All right, so we start with what's first in the signal chain.
The tuner.
Okay.
Obviously, you've got to have a tuner. I've got the StroboStomp on here right now. I usually don't have this on my main pedal board because I'm usually going for space saving.
Right.
And I usually use a little Polytune.
Oh, okay.
But this thing is the best tuner I've ever used. It just flat out is. It's so accurate. And I used to hate strobe tuners, but this thing made me love them. I wish they could make a small one, like the little Polytuner. It would be more convenient.
Yeah.
But man, if I want to really be in tune, like if I'm doing intonation or something like that, like adjusting a guitar, like this is what I grab every single time.
Yeah, I know. I've got all the iterations of the the Stomp version of the Peterson stuff, man. Been using it for a long, long time. It was always really handy on the road, just totally bulletproof.
Yeah.
You know.
And this giant screen, you can see it anywhere.
Anything, no matter how crappy the lighting is or whatever's going on, yeah, you can see it. Or how bright it is outside or whatever. Yeah,
totally.
It's very, very cool. Okay, and then so no switchers, no routers, no nothing, just everything straight in line.
So a little background on me is I have the YouTube channel where I'm doing demos and stuff like that. Outside of that, I play at church, so I'm in a praise and worship setting. And we've been inactive for a while. I have a surf rock band. And so this is kind of split. It's an amalgam of things that I use when I'm, filming guitar demos and stuff like that, things that I use at church in a praise and worship setup, and things that I need for surf guitar sounds. And I think it's very interesting that I think some people will agree that this isn't your typical praise and worship board because it doesn't have a loop switcher.
Right.
It doesn't have 3 Strymons on it,
Yeah.
So
Oh,
just
man.
in those 2 ways, it's different from a normal church board. And it's all very direct. Like I'm kind of old school. Like I don't have any effects on here that, except for the digital delay, that can't be recreated with a physical object. Like I don't have a shimmer reverb. I don't have, like all these program MIDI things and stuff like
Yeah.
that. I've got dirt, I've got wah, I've got spring reverb, I've got tape echo, and I've got tremolo. Like it's kind of a straightforward old school board in a way.
Yeah, pretty old school sounds for sure, man. Well, and with your surf rock leanings,
Yeah.
that totally makes sense, right? I mean, especially the verb trim tape delay part. I mean, it's,
Yeah.
kind of perfect. Yeah.
Those sounds, I just love them. So after the tuner, it skips under the Dunlop volume pedal
Okay.
here to the little mini crybaby, which I love, by the way. I don't have small feet. I wear a size 12.
Yeah.
And I completely am behind these little miniature wahs. Like, I have no problem. I have a full-size wah at home. I have 2 of them. And this is the thing I grab because the space saving is there. And it sounds great. This thing has like a 3-way switch that gives you different voicings.
I know.
It's
I know.
great.
Yeah, they picked the right inductor, and it's really fleshed out, man. It sounds good,
And it doesn't weigh 16 pounds.
exactly, and take up this much room on your board.
Yeah.
The thing about the mini pedals, it's really interesting, is just you have to get used to it, but you don't think about where your toe lands. You think about where right.
It's the arch.
Where
You're
your
on the
arch
arch.
lands, and if your arch lands in the right spot, then it's the same thing. You just have that, where you don't. It's your toes kind of hanging off the end, but once you get over that feeling, it's great. They're
It can be a
perfect,
little.
man.
It can be a little bit tricky because I can accidentally hit like that.
Right.
That switch there.
Yeah,
Something
yeah.
like that.
Whoops.
But that could be. That's
Yeah.
with everything.
Yeah, sure.
And so then after that, I'll come back to the wah and how I use it
Okay.
once I get to the delay and reverb section.
Yeah.
Then I've got the Carcosa fuzz. I've always got to have a fuzz on my board. This is one of the most bonkers, affordable fuzzes that you can buy. By affordable, I mean it's
Agreed.
not boutique. It's not
Yeah.
$250. It's not $350 or something like that. I think they're $120.
Right, mass produced,
Mass produced.
killer, man.
And it's dangerous. It sounds like there's a raging fire in the room, sucking all the air out of the room. It's like. So that's my main dirt for church.
Nice.
But anytime a fuzz kind of does that, like the best fuzzes sound broken.
Yeah.
know?
Oh, absolutely.
But like in a good way. Like this has that broken Velcro ripping. It sounds like something is starving and sucking signal out when you dig into it.
Right, but you can still hear your guitar through it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like it dies in the mix.
No.
That's the other problem with fuzzes. A lot of times they go away in a group setting.
And
that thing, yeah.
It's super duper tweakable too across the 3 knobs that aren't the volume. That right there, gee. Then you can do more of like a traditional sound with it too. Like if someone told me you got to pick one fuzz and you don't know what music you're going to play with it,
Yeah.
like I would grab this just because I know I can tweak it pretty dramatically. Like,
Yeah.
that's just 2 different sounds I grabbed really quick.
Right.
But it's a Swiss Army knife fuzz,
Yeah.
and it does the bonker sounds, So the next one up, which might be surprising to
Yeah.
some people, is I've got an HM2. It's an original MIJ HM2. So
yeah. This thing has a backstory too, right?
yeah. I was telling you about that, so
Yeah.
I'll tell everyone out there as well.
Why, thank you.
Probably about like 8 years ago, something like that, I was on this flipping journey where I was flipping a lot of pedals, and these would come up locally like 50, 70 bucks all the time. Because people get them, they're like, I don't use this anymore. They don't realize there's a collector's market for them growing. So I'd buy them and then I'd flip them online for twice as much, sometimes more. And I went through like 5 or 6 of them. And this was the last one I bought with the intention of flipping it. I don't remember what I paid, but it definitely was under 100 bucks. And I was like, this one sounds different. This one sounds special for some reason. I don't know what it is. Come to find out years later, this is one of the models that needs 12 volt. So I was starving it. I've got it running on 12 volt right now underneath the board. But I feel like even on 12 volt, like it feels a little bit different than other HM2s. Like it's a little bit softer. It's a little bit warmer.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Interesting.
So I need to get my hands on one of the new ones, one of the Waza ones soon to see how it compares. But this one's been around with me for a while. It's famously, you know, the core ingredient in the Swedish chainsaw death metal sound. Typically, people turn every single knob all the way up and they hit a hot amp with it.
Yeah.
And it's great for that, but that's not how I use it at all. And people get angry at me in the comment section because I don't. It's honestly a really unique pedal because you expect it to sound like a Metal Zone or something like that.
Exactly.
It doesn't. I always say it sounds a bit more Sabbath, you know, than, you know, Metallica.
Yeah. Right. Like if your heavy metal references like 70s.
Right, exactly. Yeah. It's a 70s metal pedal, but I use it to kind of push, you know, swells into reverbs and delays and stuff for big swell, shoegazy things when I'm playing at church. Also, I run the EQ different than the Swedish chainsaw thing.
Yeah, clearly.
Because I'm not hitting a big hot metal amp with it. Something really interesting about it is the high knob doesn't work the way you think it would. It doesn't dime the highs and make you sound ice picky with it all the way up. It actually pushes like this mid frequency. And when you pull back the high a bit, it actually pushes it closer to a scoop and you get more highs back. So if I turned the high all the way up on this, it would sound a lot barkier.
Right. A little more nasal.
Right. But the way I keep it set up is kind of like this. Yeah, it's got that nasal, like high mid sort of thing going on. It's not really bright.
Right.
I can see why that would work with a metal amp. It's almost like pushing it with a cocked wah sort of sound. But that's not how I run it. I run it kind of right about here. It's a static generator.
Yeah, exactly, man. Well, you know what, though? It gives you compression, sustain, gain, and plenty of mids, and you can put the mids right where you want it, depending on your amp and your setting. And yeah, I mean, funny, you know, branded the heavy metal pedal, but I mean, it's a Boss distortion. You know, it does all kinds of stuff. Just turn some knobs and you'll find something in there.
Yeah. You know? I mean, one of the biggest actual heavy metal pedals there are out there is just a tube screamer pushing a Marshall. So like, it doesn't matter what something is branded.
Yeah, it doesn't. It really doesn't. You know, it's just like, twist a knob and see what you get, you know. Well, good for you.
So my last pedal in the dirt section on my board is this 50/50 pedal right here. This is actually a signature pedal for me.
Nice.
There's only about 140 of these in the wild. The builder is waiting to make more. He just needs me to make more art for it. So that's on me. People want to buy them.
Would you hurry up with this already?
I could just use the existing art and put them out there, but I have a thing where I want to make new art every single time we do a run. But anyways, it's very simple. All it is two DoD 250s side by side.
Nice.
Like, that's all it is. I'm a lover of the 250 as a circuit. Like, it's light, it's crispy. It also has a bit of a preamp thing to it. Tonally, it's really interesting because you turn up the drive and it gets really bright. You turn down the drive and it gets kind of dark and warm. So in between, like, there's no tone control on a normal 250.
Yeah.
But like riding the gain control gives you different sounds.
Right.
It's just a circuit that I've fallen in love with over the years.
Man, it's a classic, and it's one of those you can use in so many scenarios.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you were just saying that the way you use it a lot of times is to drive another pedal even.
Oh, sure, totally.
Yeah.
Well, the way I'm using it on this board is I'm using it last in my drive chain to actually filter things like the fuzz, because I usually run into a really, really clean amp.
Yeah.
And fuzz needs to be filtered by an amp that's a little bit dirty, or it's really super spiky and abrasive and sharp, which is fun too. But I'll use this after the fuzz or after a high gain thing like the HM2. Actually, I stack it with the bell. I stack it with all the drive on here, and it just warms everything up. It acts like a dirty amp in a way. It's cool. Just kind of it's honestly the biggest key component to my dirt sound.
No kidding. So it's like tempers everything basically.
Yeah.
Nice.
Because I do run all my amps really clean, and when I play at church, I use the Walrus ACS1 here, and I run that really clean as well. So it kind of is, is my edge of breakup sound. Let's see if it'll work. I say that because the board got really roughed up.
Your poor board got banged around, didn't it?
Yeah, every single pedal came off the Velcro.
Jeez. Ouch.
Like all this relicking right here,
Yeah.
that's from shipping it to Sweetwater.
Brand new. Nice. Thank you, shipping company.
UPS, thank you.
Oh, man. Dude, that sounds killer, man. I mean, in all seriousness, that really, when you hit that G chord, I was like, whoa.
The first time I got a DoD 250, I bought it in a parking lot off a Craigslist deal for $35, and I was chasing this Link Ray kind of like torn speaker sort of sound, and it got me that, and then I learned to love so much else about the circuit. But just that little hair on the edge, but you still get like a really nice transparent like clean tone through it.
Yeah.
Like that plus my reverb here, which we'll get to next. Oh, the volume is dimed on that. That's why that's so loud.
There you go.
That reverb mix is a bit stiff.
Surf approved.
But yeah,
I like it.
It's two-sided, which means what I'll normally do is I'll have a high gain side and the kind of mid gain side. It's fun to stack them. You can just do the high gain side. Even just stacking on itself, you can hear the left side bring some warmth back in to that really gritty side.
Yep.
Like super bright. And it does that same thing for like the fuzz. It takes, like all that really astringent, brittle,
the abrasive
sort of
top stuff,
and it just kind of pulls it back a bit.
Contains it. Man, that is astoundingly good. Seriously.
Yeah.
Nice job.
All right, so on to the reverb.
Okay, and next.
Now we're getting into some fun,
Yeah.
drippy, springy stuff here. And that mix is really stiff there, so I'm going to pull that back on the other side. This is the Surfybear reverb. This is made by Surfy Industries. I forget where they're located, but it's Europe. They're in Europe somewhere.
Across the pond.
Surfybear started out as this company that was selling circuit boards as a kit. You would buy the circuit board, and what it is it's a circuit trace of a Fender outboard spring reverb unit, the Fender 6G15 for people who care about the model number, like I do, which is like the core unit of the surf guitar sound. That's where that drippy reverb comes from. It comes from an outboard unit. So they took that circuit, they traced it, they replaced all the tubes with bifets, and then they sold this little kit board. I have one of those kit boards. You would solder the pots to it, 3 pots, just like the traditional units, and then you would attach your own spring reverb pan to it, and you'd have to figure out your own case. So people were putting them in toolboxes and stuff like that.
That's fun.
Eventually they came out with their own finished, complete product. And this is the compact version, believe it or not. This is the small one. The big one is the size of a full Accutronics pan. Like it is this big.
Wow.
It is huge.
Wow.
I've toyed with using it as a riser on my pedal board because you could put other pedals on the full-size one.
It's big enough to be its own pedal board.
Right.
Nice.
But this has a real spring in it. The compact version comes with a bunch of extra settings. It has a mixer for 2 different mixes. It has a volume control, which the Fender units didn't have. It has a decay control. I'm not totally sure what decay does, but it makes the reverb go longer, which is a control you don't have on the Fender units.
Right.
So this thing is just fantastic. It is the sound. I'll throw a little drive on there again. We'll go to the lighter mix for a more like traditional amp reverb sound. It's just a really great unit. I don't always use it. Sometimes I'll be using like the Ultimate Audio Golden Reverb, which is really fantastic, or the Source Audio True Spring, also a really, really good one. Sometimes I'll use the Ocean's 11 by Electro Harmonics. The Milkman F-Stop is another digital reverb pedal that I use a lot. But when I'm being serious about Surf Spring Reverb, I grab a Surfy.
Right, man. When the call comes down where it's like, okay, you do your thing.
Right.
That's the verb for you.
And I usually have to like take stuff off the board because you can see, like the small one takes up enough space for 3 or 4 pedals.
Oh man.
The big one it'll take up most of this back row if I put that on there.
Wow. But
so
worth
you really
it,
have
right?
you really have to want it.
Yeah, exactly. Worth it. That's kind of the point. That's your thing. Man, that does sound pretty spectacular. Through the front of an amp.
Right.
That's the other thing you got to remember is this is not in an effects loop. This is not post. This is through just like straight in the input of a clean amp. That's ridiculous. And you usually don't get that kind of depth.
No.
You know.
A lot of people ask me about that. Like, oh, where did you put it in the loop? Why aren't you putting it in the loop? And it's like, because when the Fender Reverb unit was invented, loops didn't exist in amps. Like everything went straight into the amp, and so that's where the sound kind of comes from, is hitting a hot amp,
the
like
input
a hot,
stage.
clean amp.
Yeah.
You're hitting that preamp with this kind of on the edge of clipping signal. Like the reverb in a spring reverb unit is kind of clipping in a way.
Yeah, sure.
So that is a big part of the sound.
And it's getting tempered by the tone stack and all that other stuff too. That if you weren't running it through the front, if you were in the effects loop, or if it was wired some way, post, you get all that benefit.
Yeah,
that's cool. Sounds great, man.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't make it, but thank you.
Hey, thanks for showing it.
Next up is the Starlight Echo Station. This is one of those situations where this is not a cheap pedal, and I feel guilt when I use it because I really only use one sound on it when it can do so much more. But the tape sound on here.
When you pick the sound, it's glorious. That's kind of the point.
Right.
This is like the pinnacle.
Like if you've ever had the opportunity to play a real tape echo, like you're not playing guitar anymore, you're playing tape echo, and you get that experience with this pedal. Like it captures all the warts and the freckles that make tape echo special and unique and an amazing experience when you get to actually watch the tape feed through and you hear the little like artifacts of the tape where it's connected together and it glitches and stuff like that.
Yeah, where the splice is. And
the static and the the warble from the tape being aged and stuff. Like it does it, and it brings such a vibe into your signal.
Yeah.
It can be really hard to predict where that splice is going to be, but every time it shows up, like I'm like, oh, there it is, and I get so excited. I was hoping we'd get lucky and hear that little splice. It comes in.
But isn't that great though? It's like a gift when you get it, right?
Yeah, when you get it,
Yeah.
it brightens your whole day. I didn't know what I was doing there. I was like, what note did I just play? I want to hear it, and it's not giving it to me. Oh, well. Oh, there was.
There was. There was. No, there it was. We heard it, man.
Yeah, it's the silliest little thing.
It's great,
it makes your whole day.
It's great. It is. It's the cherry on top, man. It's perfect.
Yeah.
No, and just the sound of the decays, they really nailed it, and that's something that's so critical.
This is like the flutter and wah sort of thing that gives you this chorusing.
And that crazy weird filtering thing, that it's amazing, man. I killed it.
It completely changes the vibe of your signal and it makes it better in every way.
Yeah.
It's just beautiful sounding.
Yeah, it is. It is, absolutely.
And then I've always got to have a second delay on because I do play at church. I got to stack delays. This is an older DD3. I'm a big fan of the DD3.
As you should be. Everyone is, or everyone should be.
I've been in
It's
fights
a killer, man.
with Josh Scott over DD3 versus DD2 because he's a DD2 fan, Josh Scott of JHS Pedals. And like the DD2 is too clean, it's too clinical. The DD3, like it rolls off the fidelity just a little bit. It's still a digital delay, but it just rolls it off a little bit. It gets a little bit warmer. He's like, no, the DD2, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I owned a DD2 and I sold it, so I don't know, Josh.
Oh, man. Sounds like a challenge.
Sounds
like a challenge.
This is hot conversation that we get into,
man.
guys.
Yeah.
It gets heated. Friendships get ended.
Over DD2 versus DD3.
But this DD3 is actually a big part of the recipe of at least one of my songs for my surf band, for Dinosaur Ghost.
Cool.
Simply because I just do really awful notes, apparently. Like it's a set ender for me, and it's part of one of the songs. Is I use it as a noisemaker.
Yeah.
And I just love the way it reacts, doing like the spaceship noises with it. But in more practical terms, when I'm playing other music, it's just really nice to have kind of a long repeating delay after the echo station.
Sure, and it's super clean. It gives you basically what you put in it.
So say I'm doing something like this. Like it just fill it out to be more of a pad sound, and if I'm doing swells and stuff. Like you always need just a little bit more delay.
Never enough delay.
Right.
More is more.
And then on the very end of this, I've got the Walrus Monument Tremolo. I don't know how you feel about tremolos.
I love tremolos.
I feel like, because you think it's just a volume modulation, but different tremolos have different sounds, and they have different tonal characteristics.
Wave shapes and peaks, and the way it attacks and the way it decays, and then what happens during the decay. Oh yeah.
But it's
it's a rabbit hole, man.
Even more than just the thing that it does, the modulation that it does. Like I think there's like different trims have different preamp qualities or something like that.
Oh, absolutely.
And some of them sound better or worse to me just because of that. And then getting just the right wave shape that you wanted and stuff, and just that trough being just perfect or whatever.
Exactly.
I'm weirdly picky about tremolos, and the Monument has done it for me. Like there's a couple tremolos I really like, and this is one of them. I also really like the Fender Tube Tremolo, which is the only reason I didn't put it on here is because it didn't fit because of the Surfybear.
So that's like an either or, right?
But this has a lot more going on as far as wave shapes and subdivisions and stuff like that.
Right.
And it's a good size too. So why wouldn't I?
Good.
and it sounds good. So obviously, I do surfy stuff with this. You gotta have a tremolo. You just do, and especially if I'm getting crazy with this again. You know, that sort of stuff that we all do.
Yeah.
For songs.
Yeah, like all the time.
For music.
At
you know,
church.
That people want to hear at church.
Yeah, at church. Oh, wow. Surf church, man.
Right,
You've invented it. You've invented surf church. I love it.
And then at the very end, I've got the Walrus ACS1. This is my amp and cab sort of situation when I play at church.
Nice.
I don't like to haul extra stuff that I don't need to haul. And because I play into really clean amps most of the time, this sort of thing works great, and there's so many options out there. Sometimes I'll swap in the Strymon Iridium.
Yeah.
I've got some Two Notes products that are really fantastic. There's a bunch of things that do that
Sans
sort of
amp
thing
or
now.
whatever.
Sans
Yeah, there's
amp.
tons of ways to go.
I tend to choose this one the most, honestly, because of its footprint. Like, it's smaller than the others. And it does the stereo thing. If I want stereo, I can plug in headphones if I'm playing at home and I want to play quiet.
Yeah.
And I like the way it sounds, too. I mean, obviously. So there it is. There's my board. I hope this was useful.
Yeah, no, super useful because, again, you're a reviewer and you do pedals all the time and you're famous for a Pedalboard and all that sort of stuff. It's like, so, you know, when the rubber meets the road, what do you use?
Right. Like,
You know?
this is what I choose to use for me.
Yeah, yeah. And something we were talking about earlier, you said that, you know, sometimes you'll swap pedals out, but it's still basically this footprint and basically this platform and you know, this sort of palette, color palette, if you will.
Like, sometimes I'll be like, oh, I want an auto wah, so I'll sacrifice a drive or something like that. But for the most part, it's like, I'm going to have like 2 overdrives on there for stacking and getting creative with. I'm going to have a fuzz. I might have a high gain. This time I've got the HM2.
Yeah.
I'm going to, every single time, have a reverb that can do spring sounds.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll bring in a shimverb if I'm feeling sassy or something like that. Like, if I swap this out, I've got space for at least 2 or 3 more pedals.
Right, so it's easy to, to throw anything else on there.
But then I've always got 2 delays. I've always got a tremolo. I've always got a volume pedal. The wah comes in and out. I didn't actually play that. I just talked about it.
Yeah.
Maybe you should like do some combinations.
Sure, let's do.
Like something I do with the wah, like I do, you know, swells with the volume. Yeah, I can do, you know, your Kirk Hammett's, your, you know, your funky stuff with it. But I like to do like slow swells with a wah. I keep changing the settings on here. You know, an extra little thing to bring some depth and interest into these big, like, ambient parts that I tend to play at church.
Yeah, exactly. And I do the same thing where I just use it like either a constantly moving filter or a vocal filter or something like that. Yeah, it doesn't have to always be whack-a-doodle, whack-a-doodle,
Yeah.
you know.
I mean, that's fun.
It is fun.
Every chance I get, I'm going to do the funk thing. Like, I just am. But practically, I use it way more than you might think for stuff
Yeah,
like that.
right. I mean, yeah, I'm in a band that does Tell Me Something Good, so I'm whack,
Yeah.
whack, you know, of course, but yeah, there's way more uses for a while than that. Okay, so another really interesting thing that I think everyone's going to want to know: where is your volume pedal in the signal chain?
Oh, that's a good question. I didn't cover that. because I go from the tuner to the wah,
Right, and then to your drives.
and then to the drives circle back around to the volume pedal. So I've got the volume pedal right in between the dirt and the time section.
Yeah.
And that allows me
Okay.
to swell, I want to swell the drive affected signal into all the delays and reverbs.
So they keep going.
They keep going, I don't cut them off, and also
Right.
I'm not affecting the gain clipping
Right.
of the drive pedals.
Right.
Because if I had this before the drive pedals, turning it down would pull back the gain, which is a fun and useful thing to
Yeah,
do.
but you can do that with the volume knob on
Exactly.
guitar as well.
Got
So
that
it kind of
right
gives you,
there.
I sort of do the same thing. Now see, what I think is really interesting is that your verb is first in that chain. Because I would do the exact opposite. I would put modulation and then verb. I mean, that's kind of my normal setup, but I like how you have the tremolo last. That's neat, man.
The reason I do that is because this reverb, it has that drip.
Right.
And when I turn on the delay, I want that part to repeat. Where if the delay was before, each repeat would go down in volume and you wouldn't, it wouldn't continue the drip with each
Right.
repeat. So
Right.
that's the only reason I do it.
And with the tremolo last, again, like when you set a hard choppy thing, it's chopping that verb,
The
which
whole
is
thing,
so
yeah.
cool. And hey, and it all works. Even
It-
through all of the massive destruction that it went through in shipping, it all works.
We needed to put up a picture of just how messed up it was. Like every single pedal fell off the board. It was rattling around in there, and I had to open it up with a screwdriver and plug power back in and
Oh,
stuff.
man. So you were it was a rebuild. I like that.
It was a rebuild this morning.
Nice.
You know what? That happens all the time. I've never shipped a pedal board before, so now I know that I need to pack it differently.
Man, you gotta
and
lock
stuff.
it down when you ship it. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a nightmare, definitely.
It's, I'm not a touring musician. I'm an at-home hobby musician. I play at church. I play local gigs when I play gigs. And so I'm used to like packing it up, putting it in my trunk, taking it out. Like if I was a touring musician, trusting roadies and stuff, like I'm assuming I would set it up a completely different way. Like I might do the thing where I'm zip tying things down and stuff like that.
Yeah, you just don't. The trick is bulletproof. I mean, that's
Right.
really it. It's like if you can kick it off of the top of a semi or whatever and have it land, and then you can pick it up and play a gig with it without touching anything. Then it's it's good.
I thought that I was going above and beyond because I usually only use little tiny strips of Velcro because I swap stuff out so
Oh,
much.
right,
I just
right.
need it to hold on there.
Yeah.
I don't need to shake it to have it released.
Right.
I went through and replaced a lot of the Velcro with big pads. I thought, oh, these are going to be stuck on here
yeah.
forever now. I'm going to need a spatula. And they still all came loose.
Yeah.
It's wild.
So you can imagine what happened to it in shipping. If you want to think about it. But anyway, hey, it's here. It's working. We're happy.
We only had a few technical issues that the editor has taken care of.
We
So
got rid of all that. Yes.
let's
yes.
thank the editor.
Thank you, editor.
Thank you, editor.
Ryan, thank you so much.
Of
Thank
course.
you, man. This was really awesome. Really appreciate you being here and showing us your super secret pedal board that nobody knows about.
Super duper secret. I keep this a secret so no one can copy my special tone that
That's
I
right.
have.
And now the secret is out. The secret is out. Again, hey everybody, thanks for watching. And if you have any questions about Ryan or anything on his pedal board, we saw a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, you do.
Definitely talk to your Sweetwater sales engineer. They will set you straight, give you the whole story. Thanks so much for watching.